Welcome back to the program. Today I want to talk to you guys about your father and Father's Day in general. I'm going to be going over vinyl records that my stepdad, uncle, grandfather, and father have introduced to me growing up. And you'll remember the good old days when your dad just introduced you to them. Let's get started. Whose dad didn't introduce them to Star Wars? I mean, come on. This is Star Wars. The absolute fantastic soundtrack by the beloved John Williams. His original soundtrack in the series. Now 9 movies. And this is just beautiful. You've got this beautiful Darth Vader artwork on the back. This is from 1977. And 20th Century Fox Film Corporation produced this. And it's gorgeous. It comes on this 20th Century logo here on this label. I do like that. Very of its time label for sure. It is a 2-record set, and I absolutely love putting this on. I know for myself, my uncle and my grandfather introduced me to Star Wars, and they put this on. It was on cable, and they were into it. You know, it was just about these space wizards and this force that was this all-knowing force, and I was just enamored as a kid. I would collect the C-3PO and R2-D2 stuff, and it just generally became a bigger collection for me over the years of Star Wars toys. And I know Stephanie, my fiance, her father introduced Star Wars to her when she was growing up. He would put this on. She especially has a memory with Episode 4, A New Hope, which some of us know as just simply Star Wars. I can't say enough about this. I can't sing its praises enough. I hope that your dad has introduced you to Star Wars. Ringing in next is a country rock type of vibe of an album. It's the Allman Brothers Eat a Peach album. Look at that gatefold, beautiful gatefold right there. This album just, everything just jumps out at you. You got Ain't Wasting Time No More. Oh, everyone knows Melissa, Sweet Melissa. Blue Sky, I love Blue Sky. This is a big Dickie Betts album. He was big into this kind of stuff, so you'll hear a lot of his voice and his guitar. This was after Dwayne Allman passed, so this doesn't have Dwayne on it. It just has Greg Allman and Dickie Betts and all the rest of the members of the band, the 2 drummers, etc. But Ain't Wasting Time No More. You've got a lot of instrumental tracks like Les Bress in A minor. And then Mountain Jam is just all instrumental. One Way Out, Trouble No More, it was always one of my favorites. Absolutely. Anything that Greg Allman sang, I love his voice. Greg Allman is fantastic. So pick this album up. Did your father introduce you to this one? I hope so, because this is excellent. Up next, I'm sure any of you who are huge Beatles fans have been introduced to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band by your father, or your uncle, or your grandfather, or just that's who introduced it to you. For me, it was my uncle. He introduced me to Sgt. Pepper's when I was about 11, 12, 13. And ever since then, I was absolutely hooked on this album. We would talk about it for like hours. We would talk about all of the little different details and the meanings and the little intricacies of the music. Weighing in on side 2 was George's Within You Without You. We would talk all about that and the feeling it would evoke me and my uncle. He just said, you are going to love this. Listen to it. And so I bought the CD at the time. This is a 1995 issue album I picked up because I picked it up because it struck a memory with the 1995 version CD that I originally bought. So this on vinyl mirrors what I had on CD, compact disc at the time. I can't say enough about Sgt. Pepper's. I will do a full in-depth review video of that album coming soon. But I hope that you are introduced to that album by someone special and that you're able to talk about it with them. Whether they have stories about the record itself, memories that they have with it, and they can share that with you, and it in turn makes you have special memories with that album as well, and make your own special memories based on what they've been saying about it. So I am only a father of 2 dogs, so my kids only have paws. So if I were a father in a second, I would be passing down Sgt. Pepper's or any of these on this list down to my child. Uncle Mike introduced me to Relics, and I believe this is the album that he would put on in the car, and he would say, "This might scare you a little bit. This might freak you out a little bit." So, and of course he'd blast it, of course. So, this is this. I grew up with the compact disc, the CD of this, and the CD is blue with this beautiful artwork. It's all blue in this, and I believe this thing is brass. So you've got this brass apparatus, this machine with the dark blue background. That's how I remember it. But this is the album version that is somewhat new. I believe this came out a few years ago, and this is the artwork. And I heard that this was originally how it was pressed. Is like this. This is how it originally came out. And it was until the CD came out that it was changed to that dark blue and brass photography, realistic looking mechanism here, this giant thing. It looks like a giant organ. This is like one of my favorite covers, album covers of all time. And the music is so avant-garde and so strange. And it did freak me out a little bit as a kid. It did, not bother me, but I was enamored with it. I wanted to know way more about it. I wanted to know about Syd Barrett and the early days of Pink Floyd way more. And in doing so, I then delve even deeper into their biography, their discography as a band. And Relics is just a #1 staple in my collection. I pull this out and I'm just brought back to being introduced to it when I was like 11 or 12 by my Uncle Mike, or even sooner when he would put me in the car at like 9 or 10 and play this. This original UK release date of 1971 marked Pink Floyd's Relics album debut. And every song on here is just a blast to the past for me. I had such fun with these songs, and I still do to this day. I have to be in a certain mood for this kind of avant-garde feel, and this kind of 60s pop, kind of very different sounding music. Syd Barrett's voice on something like Julia Dream, as well with David Gilmour, his voice every now and again would be on here, and it opens up with stuff like Arnold Lane and instrumentals like Interstellar Overdrive is really the psychedelic kind of jamming pop rock of its time. The thing about my Uncle Mike is you just never knew where he was going to take you on the next adventure. So he would take me to New York. We'd go see museums. We'd go to the ballpark. We'd go to the Bronx. We would go to nature parks, take a hike, take a walk somewhere. All these little different places that he had in mind, and he would play all sorts of music on the way and blast it. And that really made an impression on me, to say the least. These labels are beautiful. Now you've got this deep purple color and black. This is a beautiful reproduction of the original Pink Floyd label on Pink Floyd Records. Biding My Time, sung by a young Roger Waters, is just a experimental jazzy bluesy tune. And it just, by the end of it, it just really opens up, and they bring in the sax, and they bring in all this different kind of different jazzy elements, and it just grows and grows, and then it ends the album with a song called Bike. Bike is sung by Syd Barrett, and it just goes off the walls. By the end of that album, there are sounds on there that you're going to be wondering, what am I listening to? But you're along for the ride, and you won't forget it once you hear it. That's all I can say. Up next, a lot of these are from my Uncle Mike. He introduced me to Cream's Disraeli Gears. Cream is a 3-piece power band originally formed by Eric Clapton, Ginger Baker, and Jack Bruce on bass. Ginger Baker being the drummer of the group, and Eric Clapton, of course, being the guitar. So this power trio is impeccable. Their songs, oh my God, Strange Brew and Sunshine of Your Love. Of course, everybody knows Sunshine of Your Love. You got Outside Woman Blues was always a big favorite of mine. Beautiful psychedelic cover artwork as well, featuring a collage of snippets of all of the band, and this day glow paint kind of feel to the cover, and this is definitely going to be shining in a blacklight scenario. It's just beautiful. This is a stereo Atco pressing with that purple and orange Atco label for both side 1 and side 2. I really love this. I really love this album. I used to be obsessed with playing the bass. I used to be a big bass player for sure, and that was introduced to me by my uncle. He would always teach me things about the bass and albums that he loved that featured great bass, and this was by no stretch of the imagination one of them. So Jack Bruce is playing with his fingers on that bass guitar is just all over the place in the best way to fill out and round out that sound of that band. My stepfather came into my life about over 10 years now ago, and now he introduced to me some really killer bands and music, and all classic rock. He knew I loved classic rock, so he would show me some of his favorite classic rock albums, one of them being Fleetwood Mac's Rumors album. So this, bar none, is one of the top albums you'll ever see. You're going to see this everywhere in a record store, and some of them are varying in price. But every song on here is a hit. So this is on Warner Brothers Records, a Burbank, home of Warner Brothers Company Records label here with the palm trees down Sunset Boulevard. And you've got tracks like, oh my God, Dreams, Don't Stop, you know that song, Go Your Own Way, oh my gosh, You Make Lovin' Fun, Gold Dust Woman. These songs are heard on the radio by the day. Daily, you're going to hear one of these many songs, and every single one of them. I remember Rudy, my stepdad, which is his birthday today. I'm filming this on Rudy's birthday, so happy birthday, Rudy. He always loved the song The Chain by Fleetwood Mac. I mean, that bass in there, he would show me that bass riff, and I used to love playing that. So The Chain is the #1 song for him. Any of you fathers who have grown up in the 60s and 70s know this album, and you may be introduced it to your children. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young's debut album it's just called Crosby, Stills, Nash. It's got a beautiful gatefold here. Look at this gatefold. I mean, this is a gorgeous picture, and one of my favorite things about this album is the cover is just this thick, really durable kind of cardboard, and I love that feel to it. So, I mean, Stephen Stills is a great singer, great songwriter. This is a repressing. This is not the original pressing. This is on heavier kind of weight vinyl. And this is a stereo Atlantic reproduction of this original pressing. And this might be a late 80s, 90s pressing of this, but I love the attention to detail in recreating it. That was really awesome. And one of my favorite Crosby, Stills, Nash records, thanks to Rudy. Whose father hasn't introduced them to Led Zeppelin? Who hasn't spoken about this enough, huh? So Rudy, my stepdad, and my uncle Mike also absolutely enjoy and love this album. So this is they're known as Led Zeppelin 4. It's got nothing on the cover. It's got no wordage. It's got no signage, no name, nothing. It is a gatefold featuring this hooded figure atop a cliff rock wall type of thing, holding a lantern. And this would be known as Led Zeppelin's kind of one of their many logos that they had. You'll see it on shirts and things like that, because this album was so exponentially impactful for fans. You got Black Dog on here, Rock and Roll, The Battle of Evermore, and Stairway to Heaven on side 1. On that beautiful, this is an original pressing, Atlantic Records. And how could Stairway to Heaven is fantastic, but my favorite song on this album is probably Battle of Evermore. That is just a fantastic little track there, featuring Robert Plant and this female voice that comes in. And a lot of it is just the strumming mandolin, like hard strumming, and it's just got this such a powerful vibe to it. A lot of the lyrics harken back to Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, and a lot of that is featured in this, and a lot of it has that storybook fairy tale element to it. A lot of folklore in this band towards the later years of them, when they would branch off from becoming just a solid rock and roll blues type of band, just doing blues rip-offs. They would branch out and get into a lot of different folklore of the day, stuff with, angels and demons and fairy tales and things like Tolkien's Lord of the Rings trilogy. So this album is just fantastic. I would suggest, if you are a father, give this to your kid, show them this, introduce it to them, show them how heavy and hard-hitting John Bottom is on those drums, and how amazing of an album this is. Misty Mountain Hop is me and my loved one's favorite song on here. Four Sticks, Going to California. This, they bring it down, they bring it up. Going to California is just such a little folky ditty there, and sung by Robert Plant's voice is still really, really powerful in this stage of the band's career. You can't beat it in any way. So this is a number 1, Led Zeppelin 4 for me, introduced to me by my stepdad Rudy and Uncle Mike. My Uncle Mike would tell me stories about Whole Lotta Love that you don't even want to know. It's just so powerful to him. He just it rocked his world as a kid. It began to rock my world. I love the Lemon song. I love the bass on that Lemon song, just walking up and down the fretboard, just going along with Robert Plant's leading, powerful vision in the lead of that band, and Jimmy Page doing his sloppy riffs, and then you got John Bottom just bringing it all together, bringing it up and bringing it down. It's just a fantastic song. Lemon Song is one of my favorites. And then of course Moby Dick, you get a John Bottom solo in that song, and then they bring it on home with this jazz bluesy, very bluesy harmonica from Plant, and it rocks the house in the middle to end of that song. Just this band rocks. They really hit hard, and they are good musicians. They're not just screaming. They're intelligently doing this kind of music, and it's just the best jazz and blues you're ever going to hear in the 70s at the time. So this is just fantastic music. Not all of our fathers grew up in the 70s, so today I'm going to take a chance to, some of your fathers are probably older. Maybe they're in their 60s, 70s, and even maybe 80s. And they, are introducing you to Sinatra as a kid. That's who they love. That's who they absolutely adore. So I know that my fiance's mother, their father, my fiance's grandfather loved Sinatra. That was his number 1, so he probably introduced Sinatra to his kids, and then so forth from there. Maybe that I know is how Stephanie found out about Sinatra, was from her grandfather and grandmother. So this is just probably handed down from your grandfather, and thus their father, your parents' father. So can't go wrong with Sinatra. I mean, Sinatra is just a legend. A absolute legend of the American Standard Songbook. The chairman of the board is how he will be always remembered. Did your father introduce you to Frank Sinatra? Well, I know my grandfather did, and I consider him to be a father figure in my life, so that is always great stuff. Lastly, let's talk about the Outlaws. This is my fiance's father's favorite band, and he loved Greengrass and High Tides, big country rock kind of guy. And just the screaming guitar, those great licks on that guitar, and that storytelling from the lead singer of this band, just knows how to tell a good story in a rock song. So this is just a fantastic album. Everyone on here is great. They've got a great thing going, great harmonies, great licks, and great melodies with this. A lot of good stories in this album. And so I highly suggest you check out the Outlaws. I don't think they're well known enough in the rock and roll community. I think they get a little bit of a bum rap. I don't think anybody talks about them nearly as much as they should be. Great album. Let's take a moment to cherish and remember the fathers that have passed, that we love so much, and we celebrate them with playing some of their favorite music on Father's Day. So, Outlaws for Stephanie's dad, and anybody else out there can play anything that your father loved and passed down to you during his time on this earth. So, I highly encourage you to celebrate him that way. Nothing better than spinning a vinyl record. Today I have been repping the hat for Hotel Vienna up in Windham, New York. That is where the Manza clan has celebrated their love of family, traditions, and birthdays, Father's Day for decades. At least since I was a wee child. So this year we are unable to celebrate up there, unfortunately. This is a shout out to you guys. I'm really thinking about you. Absolutely love you all. So I'm thinking about it, and I'm repping Hotel Vienna and thinking about those memories upstate. I will catch you on the next video, and until next time, you can find me lounging to a melody. Take care, and happy Father's Day. Have a good and safe one. Hey guys, and thank you for tuning in for this episode. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's ManzaMedia Art, and ManzaMedia on every other platform. If you like prints, I have an Etsy shop if you want to buy some of my original artwork and fan artwork. I encourage you to like and subscribe, and give it a big thumbs up. Thank you.